Allegations. Surface. Russian officer claims Wagner Group involved in abductions and torture of Russian military personnel. The chronicle unfolding in eastern Ukraine features a conspicuous figure, Russian Colonel Roman Vinivitin, who found himself ensnared in a formidable web spun by the fighters of Wagner, a private mercenary group. On the 8th day of June, he took to the digital airwaves and released a video in which he pointedly accused Wagner of undertaking the calculated abduction and subsequent torment of personnel within the Russian armed forces. On the 4th of June, several days prior, the Wagner Group had broadcast their own video. The featured character in this unsettling footage was none other than Colonel Vinivitin himself. Clearly marked by a visible injury to his nose, he confessed that he had given the command for his forces to unleash a volley of gunfire upon the unsuspecting Wagner troops, who were then aboard a truck. This, he said, occurred while he was in a state of inebriation. He went on to express regret for his actions, offering an apology to the Wagner mercenaries. However, a fresh twist emerged on the 8th of June, with a new video surfacing on the Ostrożno Telegram channel. In this latest release, Vinivitin's story veered sharply, painting Wagner in an even darker light. He asserted that Wagner had forcefully appropriated military equipment and vehicles belonging to the Russian troops, effectively kidnapping Russian soldiers. These victims were then coerced into signing contracts that bound them to serve as mercenary fighters under Wagner's banner. The account grew increasingly grim as Vinivitin alleged that some of these abducted soldiers were subjected to severe torture at the hands of their captors. A chilling event punctuated his claim, as he detailed how one serviceman had been driven to suicide following a brutal assault by the Wagner troops.
These actions by Wagner weakened our positions on flanks on the line in Bakhmut, while Wagner was accusing Russian armed forces of being unable to hold the positions on the flanks.
It must be noted, however, that these damning accusations could not be corroborated at the time they were made. Reflecting on his own tribulations in the wake of his capture by Wagner, a consequence, he claimed, of his refusal to comply with their directives. Vinivitin described how he was confined in a basement and relentlessly tortured.
They deprived me of sleep, and 3 times during one night took me out to imitate my execution by shooting.
Continuing to scrutinize the role of Wagner in these events, Vinivitin turned his attention to the mercenary group's leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin. He accused Prigozhin of actively working to discredit Russia's armed forces. Further, he contended that his video confession, broadcast by Wagner 4 days prior, was not an expression of his genuine sentiments. Rather, he insisted it was the result of the pressure that had been exerted upon him during his harrowing ordeal. Successful military operation Defense Forces neutralize 730 occupiers, destroy 28 artillery systems, 16 armored vehicles, 18 tanks, and 15 enemy UAVs. In the 24-hour period that just passed, the armaments of defense have executed a crushing blow upon the intruders that have breached our borders. This has resulted in the eradication of an alarming count of 730 enemy combatants. Alongside this human toll, there's a substantial list of destroyed machinery to report: 28 precision instruments of artillery, 16 well-armored mechanized beasts that once roared across the battlefield, a daunting number of 18 main battle tanks, 15 airborne instruments of surveillance, the unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, 8 bespoke pieces of specialized equipment, and a threatening complex weapon of destruction, a multiple launch rocket system. All these harrowing details surfaced in the dawn briefing document delivered by the headquarters of Ukraine's primary military entity, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU, on this recent Thursday morning. The briefing went on to offer a sobering tally of the aggressor's total combat losses, stating, "The total combat losses of the enemy from February 24, 2022 to June 8, 2023 were approximately 212,760, 730 more personnel liquidated, tanks some 3,891, 18 more units, armored combat vehicles some 7,576, 16 more units, artillery systems some 3,668, 28 more units, MLRs some 595, 1 more units, air defense systems some 355 3 more units, aircraft some 314 units, helicopters some 299 units, operational tactical level UAVs some 3,234, 15 more, cruise missiles some 1,171, ships and boats some 18, vehicles and tankers some 6,384, 35 more units, special equipment some 508 more. This comprehensive count, staggering in its scope and weighty in its implications, provides a clear picture of the scale of our determined resistance against the encroaching enemy forces. The inventory of destroyed assets spans a broad range, from versatile armored combat vehicles and formidable artillery systems to the sky-dominating air defense units and spy-in-the-sky UAVs. Each element in this extensive list underlines the tremendous efforts our forces have been mounting in defense of our homeland. The details of this operational success are steeped in the grim and brutal reality of warfare, painting a vivid portrait of resolute defense and strategic superiority. The loss of enemy personnel, now totaling well over 200,000, combined with the persistent reduction in their mechanized forces, is a testament to the resolve and effectiveness of the Ukrainian military strategy. This meticulously compiled and detailed report underscores the ongoing progress of our defense forces. It narrates a tale of relentless resistance, where every sunrise brings the grim tally of the previous day's struggle, yet also ignites a renewed spirit of hope and resilience within us all. Our defense forces continue to guard our homeland, our sovereignty, and our future, etching a narrative of courage and resilience in the face of adversity. Attack on Kherson Oblast. Russian forces bombard region, resulting in 1 fatality and 1 injury. On June 8th, a day marked by violence and conflict, the tranquil region of Kherson Oblast in Ukraine was shaken by hostile actions attributed to Russia. In the midst of the turmoil, a female civilian tragically lost her life, while another resident sustained injuries, as reported by the regional prosecutor's office. The woman found her untimely demise in the district of Beryslav, when a sudden attack left her trapped under an avalanche of rubble. The disastrous event took place approximately at 3:30 in the afternoon. Preliminary information points towards the deployment of guided aerial bombs by Russian forces as the instrumental cause of the destruction. The serene landscape of Kherson Oblast was not unfamiliar with Russian aggression, particularly on this day. The region was caught in the throes of an ongoing evacuation, spurred by the breach of the Kakhovka Dam, when it found itself once again in the crosshairs of Russian assault. An on-site correspondent of the Kyiv Independent broke the news of the assault on Kherson City, which transpired roughly around 1 p.m. As the day gradually folded into evening, more grim news followed. The Interior Ministry released a statement confirming that the day's tumultuous events had led to as many as 9 individuals sustaining injuries within the boundaries of Kherson Oblast. The impact of the Russian forces had proven to be devastating on a larger scale as well, with their destruction of the Kakhovka Dam 2 days prior, on June 6th. The catastrophic event triggered a torrent of floods, transforming vast swathes of southern Ukraine into a waterlogged nightmare. The dam's annihilation had not just symbolized a direct physical blow, but had also marked a severe humanitarian crisis, making a grave situation even more grievous. Russian attack on Cherkasy Oblast causes 8 injuries. In a tumultuous event that shook the very foundations of the Uman district nestled within the Cherkasy Oblast, an aggressive missile assault was instigated by Russian forces. This unfortunate incident has left a profound mark on the lives of the common folk, the heart of our homeland. As of June 8th, Ihor Taborates, the governor of the region, reported that a total of 8 innocent bystanders were adversely affected by this act of violence. Each of these 8 civilians bore the brunt of the unexpected onslaught, sustaining injuries severe enough to necessitate immediate medical attention. As a result, they were promptly rushed to local medical facilities, where they are currently receiving care and undergoing necessary medical interventions to nurse them back to health. However, the gravity of the situation is underscored by the fact that 2 out of these 8 individuals are grappling with a perilous state of health. They have been classified as being in serious condition, indicating a precarious balance between life and death. The reverberations of the attack were not limited to the human toll alone. It managed to wreak havoc on local infrastructure as well. 2 prominent local establishments found themselves unwilling victims of this assault: a manufacturing unit, a key player in the local economy and provider of numerous jobs, and a humble car wash, a neighborhood fixture. Both of these entities suffered considerable damage as a result of the missile strike. In the aftermath of such a catastrophe, response teams have swiftly stepped into action to mitigate the fallout and offer aid to those in need. A synergistic collaboration between the police force, medical personnel, and the state emergency services has been mobilized, with their representatives flocking to the site of the incident. Their mission: to assess the damage, administer necessary medical aid, maintain law and order, and commence recovery efforts. Each of these entities is focused on their designated tasks, working together to restore normalcy as quickly as possible. As we relay this information to you, the situation continues to evolve. Details of the incident, its implications, and the ongoing recovery efforts are being constantly reviewed and updated. Please stay tuned for further developments as our brave first responders continue their tireless efforts to heal the wounds inflicted upon our land and our people. Disturbing revelation: Russian military allegedly uses victims of Kakhovka Dam blast as human shields by placing them among military units. In the currently occupied territories within the Kherson region, a startling revelation has emerged. Russian forces have resorted to housing displaced persons from inundated communities within the premises of boarding houses and recreational facilities. Intriguingly, these locations also double as bases for their military units, a fact reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. A potential motive behind this odd arrangement is becoming clear. It seems the occupying forces are attempting to shield themselves under the guise of innocent civilians. Shifting focus to the strife-ridden Donbas region, the Russian efforts are heavily concentrated around a few key sectors. These include Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Maryinka, where the echoes of battle can be constantly heard. Intense combat persists, with the past day witnessing no less than 26 separate skirmishes within the area. The Russian offense hasn't been limited to ground confrontations. There have been numerous indications of airborne strikes. A missile assault was launched, in addition to 27 separate aerial bombardments. The Russian forces have also unleashed around 30 barrages from multiple launch rocket systems, targeting both the established positions of Ukrainian troops and civilian-populated regions. In contrast, the Ukrainian forces have been responding to these hostile acts with strategic precision. Ukrainian aviation has engaged in 18 tactical assaults on concentrated gatherings of Russian military personnel and launched 2 targeted attacks on enemy anti-aircraft missile systems. The ground forces have been equally active. The missile and artillery units under Ukrainian command have effectively disrupted the enemy's operations. They've succeeded in striking 5 critical command posts, 6 congregation points of manpower, weaponry, and military machinery, 2 enemy anti-aircraft missile systems, 8 artillery units in active firing positions, and a couple of additional targets of strategic importance to the adversary. All these operations unfolded in the span of just a day, signaling a relentless counterattack. Tragic loss. Aerial bombing by Russians claims life of woman in Beryslav district, Kherson region. On the fateful day of the 8th of June at approximately 3:30 in the afternoon, the skies above the Beryslav district in Kherson region bore witness to a grim spectacle. The Russian military chose this time to unleash a barrage of guided aerial bombs, raining destruction upon the peaceful landscape below. The aftermath of this ruthless attack was a scene of tragic devastation. The Kherson Regional Prosecutor's Office provided a heart-wrenching account of the human toll. A woman, once a lively resident of one of the local settlements, was found lifeless amid the debris of her collapsed home, a direct result of the brutal bombing. A fellow inhabitant wasn't spared either, bearing the scars of the assault in the form of physical injuries. In response to this horrifying incident, the prosecutor's office has taken decisive action. They have initiated a pre-trial investigation that seeks to examine potential violations of established war conventions and norms, along with the possibility of premeditated murder. This inquiry falls under the purview of Part 2 of Article 438 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine, further highlighting the severity of the situation. However, the bombings in Beryslav were not the only harrowing events that occurred today. Earlier, During a humanitarian evacuation of residents from a flood-stricken zone in Kherson, Russian forces showed no mercy. They proceeded with an artillery attack even amidst this dire situation. The Interior Ministry, in its official report, identified 2 employees of the State Emergency Service among the casualties. A brave diver and a dedicated driver, both hailing from Mykolaiv region. The shelling of Korabelna Square in Kherson culminated in a total of 9 people sustaining injuries. The audacity and disregard for human life demonstrated by these actions paint a chilling picture of the challenges faced by the residents of these regions. Devastating outcome. Local resident in Mykolaiv region succumbs to death following Kakhovka Dam destruction. The relentless quest for justice and truth continues as law enforcement agents tirelessly probe into the disturbing incident that led to the destruction of the dam belonging to the Kakhovka Hydroelectric Power Plant, HPP. The unfortunate event transpired in the humble village of Vasilivka, nestled within the Bashtansky district, Mykolaiv region. It was accompanied by a tragic loss of life. A local resident succumbed to the inundation within the confines of his semi-submerged home, as shared by the Prosecutor General's Office, PGO. The PGO recently released a statement via a Telegram channel, indicating the ongoing pre-trial investigation into the dam's destruction, with the PGO providing procedural guidance. They've classified the egregious act under 2 distinct legal categories: ecocide and violations of laws and customs of war. This delineation falls under Article 441 and Part 1 of Article 438 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine. As per the PGO's disclosure, the Mykolaiv Regional Prosecutor's Office is collaborating with investigators from the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, and the police during the course of the pre-trial investigation. They're collectively documenting the extent of flooding within the Bashtansky district, specifically focusing on the merged territorial communities of Horokhiv and Snyurivka. To ensure scientific accuracy, they've engaged forensic specialists and experts from the State Ecological Inspectorate of the Southwestern District. Operational data released by the PGO on June 8, 2023, at precisely 11:30, recorded water levels in the aforementioned merged territorial communities, reaching a high of 592 centimeters. Meanwhile, the Inulets River swelled to a staggering 1,250 centimeters. The PGO further elaborated on the catastrophic consequence of the dam's destruction. They confirmed that a male resident lost his life within his semi-flooded residence in Vasilivka due to the deluge unleashed by the dam's failure. Amidst this disastrous situation, rescue and evacuation operations are in full swing. The relevant departments have reported that a total of 491 individuals, 81 of whom are children, have been safely evacuated from the flood-ravaged areas. The devastation has resulted in 289 residential structures being engulfed by the floodwaters and 8 separate settlements being deprived of electrical power. The authorities continue their relentless efforts to manage the crisis and mitigate the impact on the affected population. Critical situation: water levels. Plummeting as Nova Kakhovka dam breach puts Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant at risk. A sobering development has emerged in the wake of the Nova Kakhovka dam destruction, orchestrated by Russia in a brazen act of sabotage carried out under the cover of Tuesday night. This event has led to a considerable drop in the water levels of the Kakhovka reservoir, a significant factor contributing to the increasingly precarious situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, NPPE. The Kakhovka Disaster Relief Center, responsible for managing the unfolding crisis, reported a steep decrease of approximately 2.8 meters in the reservoir's water levels following the dam's detonation. The water level now measures around 14.03 meters. As per the latest updates, the water level continues to fall, albeit at a somewhat reduced pace, now at a rate of 5 to 7 centimeters per hour, the Disaster Relief Center's statement revealed. This downward trend, if unabated, could spell disaster for the Zaporizhzhia NPP. If the reservoir's water level dips below the critical threshold of 12.7 meters, it would severely impact the plant's ability to draw water required for the cooling system at its technical site. The Disaster Relief Center sounded the alarm, warning of the potential risks. The exact time frame when this might occur remains uncertain due to the ongoing assessment of the dam's damage. However, current projections suggest that the critical level could be reached within the next 48 hours, based on the present rate of water level decline. The Zaporizhzhia NPP, currently under Russian control since the previous year, is nonetheless staffed by Ukrainian personnel dedicated to managing the crisis. They are making every effort to ensure that maximum water reserves are maintained for the cooling system. This was confirmed by the International Agency for Atomic Energy's chief, Rafael Grozny, who is slated to visit the ZNPP next week to conduct a first-hand evaluation of the situation. The Russian destruction of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant and subsequent dam breach has unleashed a torrent of floodwaters that have swept across the downstream areas. The immediate response to this disaster has been the evacuation of nearly 2,000 individuals from Ukrainian-controlled territory on the Dnipro River's right bank. Over 20 settlements now find themselves inundated, a stark testimony to the repercussions of this incident. Water crisis at Kakhovka Reservoir, levels plummet below dead point, severing water supply to Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. A significant development has unfolded today as the water level in the Kakhovka Reservoir has plunged beyond what is ominously referred to as the dead point. This critical situation jeopardizes the capability to extract water essential for both the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant's operations and basic needs of surrounding settlements. This alarming revelation was brought to the public's attention by Ior Sirota, the head of Ukhrhydroenergo, during an appearance on national television. At present, the Kakhovka Reservoir's water level stands precariously at 12.50 meters. This level is unfortunately beneath the critical dead point benchmark of 12.70 meters. Sirota elucidated the dire implications, stating,
"We've now entered a stage where the retrieval of water for the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant's cooling ponds, as well as the delivery of water to local settlements, is no longer feasible."
Sirota further elaborated on the catastrophic consequences if the dam's destruction is finalized. The extent of the damage would result in the reservoir's width contracting drastically from its original 3.5 kilometers to a mere 1.2 kilometers. Additionally, its depth would plummet, not surpassing a meager 3 meters. He warned that the reservoir could continue to experience a steady decline in water levels for another 7 to 8 days. It's worth noting that the grim situation was triggered in the early hours of Tuesday when Russian occupiers set off an explosion at the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant. Post the catastrophic event, Ukhrhydroenergo confirmed that the Kakhovka HPP had been completely decimated and is beyond the scope of restoration. However, in a testament to resilience, Ukhrhydroenergo announced on June 6th that plans are underway to construct a new Kakhovka HPP. Despite the adversity, the intention to rebuild signifies a determined step towards recovery and restoration. Tragedy strikes. 9 fatalities reported in flooded town of Oleshky, Kherson region. A somber confirmation came today from the Kherson region in the occupied town of Oleshky as the city's mayor, Yevhen Ryshuk, reported the tragic loss of 9 lives due to severe flooding. This disheartening news follows earlier reports on June 7th, when local authorities initially disclosed the demise of 3 individuals in the wake of the Kakhovka Dam flooding. Ryshuk elaborated on the methods of communication utilized amidst the current dire circumstances. Using the messaging platform Telegram, he maintains a lifeline with local residents. Through this, he received a heart-wrenching message informing him about a resident's relative passing away. Additionally, he learned about 2 more fatalities from another acquaintance. The identities of these victims, however, have yet to be revealed. In Oleshky, the situation continues to worsen. The mayor sadly reported the recovery of 8 bodies so far in the town, underscoring the devastating human toll of this disaster. Yet, in a harrowing revelation, Ryshuk informed that Russian troops have resorted to firing at a school, where evacuees had sought refuge on the rooftops. As of now, there remains an information void regarding possible casualties or injuries from this dreadful event. Furthermore, there's no current information about any missing persons, attributable to the severe disruption in normal communication within the city. Financial assistance available. Evacuated residents from Kherson region, eligible for support from Danish Refugee Council, in a promising development for the beleaguered residents of Kherson region, who have been uprooted due to severe flooding. The Ministry of Reintegration of the Temporarily Occupied Territories of Ukraine announced the availability of financial assistance from the Danish Refugee Council. The ministry's press service has notified those Ukrainians who were necessitated to evacuate from Kherson region to Mykolaiv due to the inundation can apply for monetary support facilitated by the Danish Refugee Council. Notably, the process to register for this support has been streamlined for accessibility. The registration desks are conveniently situated in prominent locations, specifically the railway station and the bus station in Mykolaiv. Detailing the procedure, the ministry stated, "To commence the registration process, one needs to locate a representative from the Danish Refugee Council. These individuals can be easily identified by their attire, a vest adorned with the organization's logo, or by visiting locations that bear the organization's banners. As for the necessary documentation to register for this aid, evacuees need to present their passport and an individual tax number. The emphasis here is on making the process as uncomplicated as possible to ensure that the much-needed support reaches the intended beneficiaries in a timely manner." Aerial footage reveals devastation. Drone video displays ruins of Kakhovka Dam and submerged areas. Following Russian attack, 2 days on, the serene calm of the night of June 6th was violently shattered as Russian forces, that had held the town of Nova Kakhovka under their control for over a year, initiated a destructive assault on the dam. The resultant catastrophe led to extensive flooding of the cities and towns nestled downstream along the Dnipro River, reaching as far as the regional capital of Kherson. While an operation to evacuate citizens from the critically affected areas on the west bank of the Dnipro River proceeded through the night, a humanitarian crisis was rapidly unfolding on the east bank. The terrain here, under Russian occupation and marked by its lower elevation, bore the brunt of the flooding. In response to this crisis, President Volodymyr Zelensky convened an emergency meeting of the National Security and Defense Council. Outlining a decisive strategy, he commanded an immediate evacuation from high-risk areas and the distribution of drinking water to towns and villages reliant on the now devastated Kakhovka reservoir. With a heavy heart, the Ukrainian state hydroelectric company, Ukrhydroenergo, confirmed that the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant was entirely destroyed, beyond any scope of repair. Further emphasizing the severity of the damage, the Ukrainian military's South Operational Command noted that, although the dam had not been completely demolished, it had suffered significant damage. Recognizing the gravity of this incident, the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office promptly initiated an investigation, accusing Russia of committing ecocide. In a statement that underscored the scale of this disaster, President Zelensky labeled Russia's attack on the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant as the most significant man-made environmental calamity witnessed in Europe in recent decades. Further amplifying the crisis, Ukraine's defense intelligence issued a chilling warning. It indicated that the Russian obliteration of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant had dramatically escalated the potential for a nuclear catastrophe, raising the stakes of this crisis to an alarming level. Uman targeted, Russia conducts missile strike, resulting in multiple injuries. Late in the evening on June 8th, the tranquil life in the Uman district of Cherkasy Oblast was abruptly shattered when Russian troops launched a missile attack. This information emerged from various sources, including Ihor Tabarez, the head of Cherkasy Oblast Military Administration, and several unofficial telegram channels. Tabaret somberly reported, "An evening with an air raid siren and, unfortunately, consequences. The enemy again launched a missile strike on our Uman region. There were 2 locations struck by the missiles, an industrial compound and a car wash facility. A fire subsequently broke out at the car wash due to the impact of the missile. Preliminary findings indicate that the missile strike has resulted in 8 casualties, with 2 of those injured finding themselves in a critical condition." Detailed information that emerged from various telegram channels suggests that the strike specifically targeted Uman. They further report that a store belonging to the ATB chain may also have been hit during the attack. Emergency services are currently active on site. navigating through the chaos and performing their duties with utmost urgency. Government officials are working diligently, aiming to gather all the specifics related to this unfortunate incident. Across all oblasts in Ukraine, an air raid alert was issued on Thursday evening. In Cherkasy Oblast, the alert period extended from 20 o'clock to 21:12. As the dust settles and the smoke clears, the full extent of the damage caused by the missile strike will be revealed, and the resilience of the people will be put to the test once more.